Hey guys, what's up? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brendan. I'm an Army Field Artillery Officer, and I make videos to share my experiences so people, especially people who are becoming military officers, can learn from my successes as well as my failures. Here's a little video on my background. So given everything going on with the coronavirus and the stock market panic, I thought this would be a good time to make a video on the Thrift Savings Program, aka the TSP. But first, I want to remind you, I am not a licensed professional. This is not professional advice. This is me just sharing my experiences. Know that I've been investing in the stock market since I was 14, and I've taught dozens of soldiers how to get started in the stock market as well as how to figure out their financial situation. Real quick, before I forget, please like this video if you like it and subscribe if you want to see more. So today, I'm going to go over why the TSP is important, traditional versus Roth TSP accounts, the 10 different TSP funds, how those funds are doing right now during the coronavirus sell-off, and how you can get free money with the blended retirement system in the TSP. So let's start with, why is all of this important? Why should we care about the TSP? The TSP is important because it can be a great way for you to set yourself and your soldiers up for success financially. As a military leader, you're in charge of your soldiers in pretty much every way. Helping them get set up for success with money can go a long way. Now, I'm not saying being good with the TSP or being good with money is going to make you a good leader, especially in the military. That's not what I'm saying. But if you can be good at your job, look out for your people, and help them with things that aren't necessarily military related, like money and things like that, you're gonna be a stud. Frankly, from my experience as a platoon leader, the better off your people are in their personal lives, the better off the team is gonna be. So now that we know the purpose, let's jump into it. The TSP is a 401k retirement plan for all military and government employees. And like all retirement accounts, it's where you put money in that you can't touch until you're 65. So as such, you shouldn't put too much money in there if you think you're gonna need it before you retire. And like all retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, there's two choices. There's traditional and there's Roth. Now, traditional is when you don't pay money on the tax going in and you actually get a little bit of tax deductions, but when you pull the money out, that's when you pay the tax. Roth is the opposite. So you pay tax on the money going in, but when you pull it out, you don't have to pay tax. Personally, I use Roth because I think that my tax bill is going to be higher when I'm older and retired and I have all that money in my retirement accounts than it is right now. Alright, so the TSP consists of 10 funds. 5 are life cycle funds and 5 are other funds. And the life cycle funds are basically just made up of different mixes of the 5 other funds. So the big thing to know about the life cycle funds is the closer the date, so life cycle 2030 versus life cycle 2040, the less risk there is and the less upside there is. So the less chance you're gonna lose money, but also the less chance you're gonna make money. So 2030 will have less risk than 2040, which will have less risk than 2050. If you really wanna go with just maximum easiness, you can put your money in the life cycle fund that's closest to when you're gonna turn 65 and retire. So if you're 35 right now, life cycle 2050 fund would probably be the best for you. So now that we're kind of familiar with the life cycle funds let's get into the 5 funds that make them up. First is the G fund. So this is the fund where the TSP puts all your money if you never go in there and change it up. And the G fund puts money in short-term US treasuries. Basically, they're bonds that are very low risk and very low reward. So generally speaking, if you think the market is going to go down, it's probably good to put your money in the G fund because while you're not really going to be making a lot of money, you're probably not going to lose much money, if any. So overall, this fund, the G fund, is very low risk and very low reward. So historically speaking, over the past 10 years, the G fund has averaged 2.23% return. So if you had put $10,000 in and didn't put in any more money and just let it sit for 10 years in the G fund, right now you would have $12,467. Next is the F fund. And this is similar to the G fund in that it goes up or down based on US bonds. This fund is different than the G fund because it's not US Treasury bonds, it's more like corporate bonds and other types of bonds, but they're similar. And so generally speaking with this one, if you think the market's going to go down, the F fund is probably a pretty good place to put your money. This one is also relatively low risk and low reward, and over the past 10 years, it's gotten 3.99% return. So $10,000 10 years ago with no money added that just sat in the F fund for 10 years is now $14,788. Next, we have the C fund. And the C fund is based on how the stock market, more specifically the S&P 500 does. And the S&P 500 is an index of the 500 biggest companies in the US. So think like Amazon, Apple, Google, those kind of companies, and how they're doing. If you think the US stock market is going to go up, this is probably a good place to put your money. Unless you think for whatever reason there's going to be things that affect big US businesses. So maybe government regulations that is going to hurt big businesses and try to break them up. But generally, if you think the market's going to go up, C fund's a good place for your money. And we can see this over the past 10 years because over the past 10 years we've had what they call a bull market, a really good market, and it has averaged 13.59% return. So if you had put $10,000 in 10 years ago, let it sit in the C fund, now you have $35,760 and you didn't have to do any work for it. So next is the S fund. And the S fund is similar to the C fund because it's based on how the US stock market does. However, where the C fund is the biggest 500 companies, the S fund is kind of all of the rest of them, more or less. So these are generally smaller, not necessarily small, but smaller companies. So again, if you think the US stock market's gonna go up, especially if you think it'll go up for smaller businesses. Now I'm not talking like the neighborhood bakery, I'm talking like smaller, big businesses. This is a good place to put your money. And over the last 10 years, it's averaged 13.08%, so $10,000 10 years ago is now $34,186. And finally, we have the I fund. The I fund gains or loses money based on how international stocks are doing, mostly stocks in Europe and Asia. So if you think the international stock market's going to go up, especially if you think it's going to go up more than the US stock market, then this is a good place to put your money. So over the past 10 years, the I fund has done about 5.85% a year. So $10,000 10 years ago would now be $17,656. So you might be thinking, Brennan, why are you making this video now? Why? The TSP has been around forever. Well, right now is probably a good opportunity to start getting involved in the stock market if you're not already. Because the stock market is down about 30% from when this is recorded from its highs. And let's show you that. So let's see how the funds have been doing since the beginning of the coronavirus crash. Here's a table of how the funds have been doing from January 1st to March 20th. As you can see, pretty much all of the funds have seen a drop, but the C, S, and I funds have seen the biggest drops. The G and F have stayed pretty consistent because they are bonds, and bonds just don't move that much. And as you can see, the S fund has been the big loser here because not only has the stock market kind of crashed, but smaller companies seem to be more at risk because as the virus shuts things down, that means less people are working, there's less money in the economy, and smaller businesses are the ones who will probably be hit harder because while this is going to hurt Apple too, they have billions of dollars in cash, so they'll be able to weather the storm. But now let's see, if you had $10,000 in each fund on January 1st, let's see how much they would be worth on March 20th. So here's a quick table on how that math works out. As you can see, G and F fund, you're staying pretty much the same. In the G fund, maybe you made a little money. Whereas in the C, S, and I fund, unfortunately, you've lost thousands of dollars. Now, before you say, okay, investing is not for me, obviously you can lose a lot of money, I don't want to lose money. Let's look at what happened after the last stock market crash in 2008, 2009. So here's how the funds did starting September 28, 2008, when the market was down about 30%, similar to what it is now. And then 10 years later on September 28, 2018. Now remember, for this crash, it went down more than 30%. So just keep that in mind. According to this table, if you had your money when it was down 30% and you just held on to it, even though it dropped even more, just wrote it out, you made a ton of money. No matter what fund you were in, you were up, but especially if you were in the C or S fund, you more than doubled your money. Now let's say you had $10,000 in at the very top. You put it in, unfortunately, at the worst time. It dropped 30% like how it has with the coronavirus, and then you started with that amount in each and you let it go for the 10 years. So here, as you can see, even though you started with less, especially with the C, S, and I funds, you definitely made your money back. And in the case of the C and S fund, you actually made more money than if you had just kept it in bonds the whole time, didn't really get hit that hard, and stayed in bonds. Here, obviously, the best thing would be if you were in bonds during the crash and then you switched over to the stock market after. But this is just going to show you that if you stuck with stocks, you ended out ahead. But keep in mind, just because something happened in the past doesn't mean it's going to happen again in the future. This is just me showing you similarities between the crash now and what happened in 2008, 2009, and how it might happen again. For me personally, I am definitely going to be sticking with stocks. I'm going to slowly move money from either cash or bonds into stocks as the market goes lower and lower, so that I can take advantage of that upside when the market does come back, because I don't believe that the coronavirus is going to be the end of the US economy or the world economy. That just seems a little ridiculous to me. So now that we've gone over all of that, and that was a lot, let me explain how you can take advantage of the blended retirement system in the TSP to get free money. First, you need to know if you're in the blended retirement system. If you joined the military after January 1st, 2018, you're in the blended retirement program. Also, if you were in the military before then but opted to join the blended retirement system during the year 2018, you're also in the blended retirement program. Otherwise, you're probably not in the blended retirement program. Under the blended retirement program, the military will match dollar for dollar all contributions you make up to 5% of your base pay. So for a brand new second lieutenant right now, you can contribute $159.40 a month, which would be 5% of your base pay. And not only will that go into your TSP, but the military will match that and put in another $159.40 a month for you for free. So a total of $318.80 would go into your TSP every month, but you would only pay for half of it. That's awesome. If you're in the blended retirement program and you're not contributing 5% of your base pay to your TSP, you are literally not taking advantage of free money. And sometimes you can't do it. Maybe you have debt that you need to pay off, or whatever situation. But generally, you should always try to take advantage of the matching. So if you've made it to this point, congrats. I hope you learned something. And really, what I want you to take away from this, especially if you are a military leader, like a platoon sergeant, a squad leader, a lieutenant, a company commander, I hope that you learned something that you can use yourself to put yourself in a better financial position and take advantage of how you can make money in the stock market. But I also hope you took away things that you can teach your people so that you can show them that you care and you can set them up for success and you can build a stronger team. From my experience as a platoon leader, if you can show your people that you have their back, it's really amazing what lengths they'll go to show you they have your back as well. But anyways, please like this video if you liked it. Leave a comment on what you think, or if you have any other videos that you think I should make, and subscribe if you want to see more. I really enjoy making videos that help people, especially people who are doing something similar to what I did in terms of ROTC to active duty military. I really enjoy making videos that help those people succeed and do better than I've done. Oh, and follow me on Instagram because I'm starting to post more and more on there, and I'm gonna start doing things like Ask Me Anythings where I can answer people's questions easily. But anyway, that's all I've got for today, guys. So until next time, keep killing it.